Welcome back, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us here on Instagram. It's Waldorf Wine Wednesday. Hey, I'm Christian Laroche, sales manager here for Waldorf Wine Group in British Columbia. Wine Wednesday. Hey, as the name implies, this is something we started back in May of 2020. We pivoted online to bring some wine content, and we've been going every week since, so really glad you could join us here. Wine Wednesday, we look at all things related to Waldorf Wine Group. For those of you not familiar with us, we're a small family-owned wine agency started back in 1993 by Andy Waldorf, who's still firmly at the helm. We bring in European wines both here and in Alberta. And we have an eclectic portfolio, small family estates, co-op cellars, classified growth Bordeaux, domain bottled Burgundies, old school Rioja, high-end German Rieslings, and everything in between. Lots of cool stuff. Quality at every price point. And yeah, if you haven't done so already, I do invite you to follow us here. We check out wines that we currently have in the market. We look at some samples of things that we're thinking of bringing into market. We keep you up to date of any events or any promos that might be happening, any visiting winemakers or any dinners or events that we might be doing. So yeah, please do follow us. We'd love to have you join us here each Wednesday. Good to see you there, David Lancelot. I'm really glad you could join us. Hey, we are going to look at something, here we are after, we're into early February. Christmas credit card bills have started coming in, so we're looking for value, and becoming harder and harder to find these days. I wanted to cast a light on something a little bit different that we don't always look at here on Wine Wednesday. But something that I think, Valentine's Day is coming up soon. We always need wines like this. We tend to keep wines like this only for celebrations or special occasions and that, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think this is a category unto itself that actually offers quite a bit of versatility, for what it is. So let's flip the camera on. I'm going to show you what we're trying this week. We are, in the Loire Valley. Yeah, we're doing sparkling wine. This is Dechanceny Cremant de Loire Brut, méthode traditionnelle here. That's the very important thing that we're looking at here in this case. And what we have here is we have a sparkling wine made the same way that they make champagne. Actually, they used to call it méthode champenoise, but that changed a while back because this doesn't actually come from the Champagne region, and they're very, 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 did I say they're very protective of their identity. So this is traditional method sparkling wine from the Loire Valley in a Brut version. I'm just going to flip the camera around. So what this is basically this is what's known as secondary fermentation in bottle. Yeah, so it's a sparkling wine process. It's definitely a little bit more labor intensive, but it doesn't have to necessarily cost you an arm and a leg. And it's an interesting process because of what it delivers at the end. A lot of people are content with, just buying, cheapest, Cava, Prosecco, what have you. And quite often you just want something bubbly. But I find sometimes too, you can do a cheap method. You can do like a tank method. You can, do a fermentation in a closed vessel. You can inject CO2 and make big beery bubbles that blow off very, very quickly. Secondary fermentation, what it is you take, you make a still wine. You have an alcoholic fermentation. You harvest grapes. You add yeasts to spark an alcoholic fermentation, and then basically you make a sort of a low alcohol, generally fairly high acid base wine, and then to that wine you add yeast and sugar to start a second fermentation in the bottle. And what happens is after a time, once that second fermentation is happening, generally, what happens is it's bottled in a heavier weight bottle, but these bottles are stored usually in racks, in wooden racks traditionally, on their head. They're stored that way. And so what ended up happening was, as the secondary fermentation happened, when you've added the yeast and the sugar to start that second fermentation, it creates carbon dioxide that gets digested into the wine, it gets trapped into the wine. And then that yeast that has been used, it dies off. And so what ended up happening would be these bottles would be stored neck down in these racks, and there would be a person traditionally who would come around and give the bottle basically a quarter turn every once in a while. And what that would do is that would dislodge the yeast that would get stuck up here, and it would fall down. At this point, the wine is not under this traditional sparkling wine cork and wire closure. It's generally just in a crown cap, like you'd see like on a beer bottle or something like that. And the person charged with twisting the bottle to dislodge the spent yeast cells, they are called a riddler. And, that still can be done in a small operation, a traditional method. A lot of them these days now, it's done mechanically on, what are called gyro pallets. And they'll do the moving all at once for a good number of bottles. It's a little bit more, efficient to do it that way. But basically what happens is once the spent yeast cells, they fall down to the base of to the neck here. And when they collect after a while, now what this wine is this is Chenin Blanc from the Loire Valley, the king grape of the Loire, white grape of the Loire Valley. And I'm very excited because this is done the same way that Champagne is made, secondary fermentation in bottle, although it's made outside the Champagne region. Cremant de Loire only became an appellation contrôlée in 1975. And Chenin Blanc is cool because it's what I describe as the chameleon grape, because they make so many different interpretations of it in the Loire Valley, from bone-dry wines to semi-dry wines, sec tendre, demi-sec wines, sparkling wines, sweet dessert wines. And regardless of the style of wine, Chenin Blanc always keeps its hallmark characteristics: green apple, honey, and crisp acidity. And that's what we have here. This wine, like I said, is done traditional method, secondary fermentation in bottle. Generally bottled somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 atmospheres of pressure. That's why you're using the heavier glass bottles. That's why the cork is wired shut down as well too. But this wine spends 18 months on the lees in contact with those spent yeast cells. And what that does, again, that imparts a certain creaminess and biscuitiness. I often liken it to a slight umami character, sometimes a little bit more of almost like an arrowroot biscuit character. Toasted bread, brioche, and sometimes those are some of the descriptors we often hear. But what tends to happen is it imparts like unlike the commercial versions where it's done in tank or they've just injected CO2, it's a finer bead of bubble, a pinpoint bead of bubble. And that's basically what you're paying for. And you taste that in the mouth. A little bit more length of flavor, persistency, a more elegant, rounded wine as well. And I love these wines because they're super versatile with or without food. They're great for entertaining, like I say, when you want something with a little bit more finesse than, like I said, your basic party Prosecco or Cava. And if you don't want to push the boat out all the way for champagne, these wines are great bang for the buck. Dechanceny is a different label from our good friends at the Loire Alliance, Alliance Loire. And what they are, and we talked about this not too long ago, they're a group of 7 different grower cellars all around the Loire Valley who joined forces back in 2000, 2001. And they make wines from all over the Loire Valley. Fantastic price quality, really good regional representations that don't cost an arm and a leg. To give you an idea, the sparkling wines we bring in quite a few labels from the Loire Alliance here in British Columbia. And I'm thinking about now, as we're getting closer to, of course, Valentine's Day, this is our high watermark, basically, in terms of our offerings, price-wise. To give you an example, the Dechanceny Cremant de Loire here, the one that we're showing today, this is only available around the province. This came in just before Christmas, and it's available all around the province now, only at private wine shops and restaurants. You won't find this at the BCLDB, but we have a sister wine to this with a pink label. It's a Cremant de Loire Brut Rosé, and it's also done the traditional method, 16 months on the lease, but it's made from the red grape of the Loire Valley, Cabernet Franc. Now, we carry that wine at BCLDB. We've got it in 46 stores around the province at the BCLDB, and that's $28.49 a bottle. It is screaming good value. This wine, like I say, private wine shops, it'll be a little bit more, but not that much more. And basically, you're looking at about half the price of most non-vintage champagnes. This wine as well, fun fact, this wine was rated 95 points from Decanter magazine at the Decanter World Wine Awards. This is almost entirely Chenin Blanc. There's a tiny, maybe like 1% Chardonnay in here as well. So this is a cool alternative wine, as mentioned. It's something to experiment with. For those of you who have not tried Cremant, it's great. It's made all over France, Cremant d'Alsace, Cremant de Bourgogne, Cremant de Bordeaux, Cremant de Jura, all over the place. But it's a nice alternative to champagne. Same method of production, but different areas and sometimes using different grapes as well. This might be a good time to pull up our Google Earth map, and we can have a look and see where we're located for production. So let's just get the bottle out of shot here just for a moment. So we're basically about 325 kilometers southwest of Paris. Paris up here. So we're down here heading towards the coast, towards Nantes. And we're basically right in between the towns of Angers, that gives its name to the Anjou wines, and Tours, that gives its name to the Touraine wines. And the Loire Alliance is sort of smack dab in the middle along the Loire River. Now, the Loire River flows probably about 440 kilometers inland. So it comes out to the Atlantic Ocean here in the Bay of Biscay around Nantes. And, the river itself flows by Angers, down through here past Tours, up north towards Blois and Orléans, and then it comes down here around Sancerre and Puy-Fumé. So for our purposes, we are sort of in between that. We are just down here around the town of Saumur. We just featured our Saumur Les Pouches wine very, very recently here. Now, if you head about 20 kilometers south, the Loire Alliance is based here in Saint-Cyr-en-Bourg, just a little bit south here. For our purposes today, we're just a little bit further southwest ourselves, down here. We're down here near the medieval town of Montreuil-Bellay. Beautiful, beautiful chateau here, just along the banks of the river, and the vineyards. Portion of the vineyards are here, just on the outskirts of town, And then we're also just a little bit further west here, up near Bramley, just in here. Now what this is a continuation. I'm just going to pull the shot up here if I have it. There we go. Now we've used this shot before. This gives you an idea of the soils here in the region. It's mostly clay for about a half a meter. And then we come down to the soft, chalky tufa limestone soil that goes down for about 15 meters. Now, blended in with this, too, there's also a wee bit of sandstone as we get closer to the river, and also a little bit of quartz as well. This is a nice shot of some of the vineyards there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area. So I'm just going to pull back, and we'll get our bottle back into shot. You know, this might be a good time, I'm thinking, to give the wine a try. Why don't we flip the camera around? I haven't put any in my glass just yet. I'm just going to pop it open. I've got another bottle out of shot here, so get things going a wee bit and see what we've got. Good all-arounder in terms of price quality. I love these wines for weddings and parties and drop-ins, but as you might expect, I'm using my Riedel Vinum Chianti, Riesling Chianti glass. You know, straw-colored, as you might expect, but really super expressive nose. Like I said, you get all that green apple, honey, a little bit of almost like a slight bay leaf note in there as well too, but I'm also definitely picking up a little bit of that yeastiness as well too. Quite biscuity as well too. I'm really finding that one that arrowroot biscuit note going on too. Let's give the wine a swirl and a taste and see what we've got. Beautiful. Lovely fruit there. I'm picking up a little bit more stone fruit on that. Pick up a little bit. It's quite honeyed on the tip of the tongue, and then really develops a bit of like a pear, kind of peach. And that mousse, I'm really picking up that fine pinprick of bubbles in there. Nice length, actually. Surprisingly good length on that tube. That's dried. This is brut. Once the fermentation is added and they add, what happens, we were talking about the bottles before. We were talking about how they've been riddled, and I didn't finish mentioning that once the yeast has settled down at the base of the bottle when it's still under crown cap, what they'll do with that is they'll put the bottle in a freezing brine solution, freeze it just up to about here, and it forms like an ice plug. They'll pop that out and fill it with a little bit more wine and sugar solution as well too. And that'll be the final dosage to determine how dry, off dry, or not it is. Now this is brut, so technically this has to be, I believe it's 12 grams per liter residual sugar or less. This wine clocks in somewhere around 7 grams per liter. So it's dry, but it's not like bone dry. Which I think makes it versatile. I'm just going to have another quick sip. Now, this is definitely the type of wine that you can have with or without food. And the fact that it isn't like so severely dry that you can only have with food, I find that makes it super versatile just to sit and sip on its own, maybe a little nip of cheese or something like that. But I'm going to have one more sip if I may. Nice snap of acidity. Surprisingly, that's got a little bit of creaminess to it. It's not the most complex, but it's got really good persistence of flavor. And what I like is that fine mousse, really persistent. And then the acidity kicks in, very, very refreshing. And I love that because that acidity, especially in a sparkling wine like that, to me, that's like the liquid sorbet. Cleanses your palate after each bite. You know, that's what makes it so versatile. Appetizers, I think this wine is fantastic with quiche. It's great with salads and dips and soft cheese. It's great with goat's cheese. Or if you ever do like a baked brie with like a mango salsa or something like that on it. Grilled shrimp, fish tacos, sushi, pizza with a white sauce, dumplings, pad thai, pulled pork, smoked salmon. Yeah, the sky's the limit. Great thing if you're celebrating Valentine's Day. Like I said, you can check this out at private wine shops around the province. We also have a Rosé Brut version available at BCLDB, made from Cabernet Franc. Look for the bright pink label. It's available around the province at 46 different BCLDB stores. $28.49 a bottle. Pick up 2 bottles for less than a bottle of champagne. Why not? What's not to like? What else have we got? Hey, we are still undergoing our inventory count at Container World. So if you are a restaurant or a private wine shop, things are a little bit slower this week. It'll pick up again next week once everything is said and done. Lots going on. Vin Expo Paris is coming up next week. We've got the Vancouver International Wine Festival coming up soon as well. Our Lopez de Heredia wines are here now, so we might have a few cases left. That's a once-a-year allocation, ultra-traditional Rioja wines. So if you're interested in anything, DM me here. You can shoot me an email at christian@waldorfwine.com. And that's Christian, Christian. Lots of cool wines coming in too. Some more German Rieslings coming in. We're getting a reload of some more Selbach Oster wines. We're going to have some more of our Schwab Kiebel. Yeah, our cool old school Mosel Riesling from Urziger Würzgarten. We're moving on to the new vintage. It's going to be the 2002. Love stuff like that too. That's about it for this week. Look, if you haven't done so already, please do follow us here on Instagram. We'd love to have you join us. Next week, not sure what we've got in the tickle trunk. We'll have to do some rummaging around and see what's what, but come back, find out, and see what we're doing. Anyway, I'm Christian. Take care. Nice to see you. Take care. Bye for now.